We take the beating of our heart for granted. Every day, 24 hours a day, while we're sleeping and while we're awake, this muscular 10-ounce workhorse is continuously pumping the equivalent of liquid gold, our blood, the source of life, through 60,000 miles of blood vessels to nourish every cell in our body. To give you some perspective, these arteries, veins, and capillaries laid end to end would wrap around the earth more than twice at the equator. That's the power we were born with and the power we take for granted. The heart will continue to do its critical work, dependably delivering this life force to us over and over, beating about 35 million times each year, until finally, one day, it stops. It has become so weakened by lifestyle, by arteries that have become so clogged that the blood flow can't make it through, by disease or by old age, that the heart finally fails. And at that moment, when it stops beating, nothing else matters. An ambulance is summoned and paramedics arrive to attempt to coax the heart into resuming beating, shock it into submission to keep oxygen flowing. Because without oxygen, you're a goner. Brain cells begin to die within minutes of being deprived of oxygen. For those who survive resuscitation, life is radically altered. What can you do in 36 seconds? That's probably about how long it took you to listen to the beginning of this chapter. Well, one American dies every 36 seconds from cardiovascular disease. It's the #1 killer of Americans, accounting for 1 out of 4 deaths. But that doesn't even begin to convey the scale of this destruction. Globally, 1 out of 5 people will die of heart disease, more than any other disease on the planet. It accounts for about 18 million deaths per year. In other words, it kills almost 50,000 people every day. Let's step back for a moment and think about what those numbers mean. Because the truth is, they aren't just numbers, are they? What we're talking about here are priceless human lives. People like you and me, our parents, our partners, our closest friends, and possibly our children. So you and I both know what's at stake here. We understand intellectually, emotionally, and viscerally the urgent need to protect ourselves and those we love from this devastating threat. As you'll soon learn, this is a war that we're increasingly well equipped to fight and win, thanks to an awe-inspiring wave of technological advances that focus on prevention and regeneration. But before we get to that, I'd like to share with you a little-known aspect of the heart. You're probably unaware of the fact that your heart has its own brain, its own intelligence. The heart emits hormones that impact how the brain functions. Your heart was your original guiding intelligence. In the final chapter of this book, we'll talk about the intelligence of the heart and how to use the brain and heart together to make better decisions for a better quality of life, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, and, of course, as relates to your health as well. For now, let me emphasize a simple truth that I hope you'll never forget. You have the power to influence your heart health through factors that you, yes, you, can control. That includes choosing the right foods to eat and avoid, maintaining a healthy body weight, limiting your alcohol intake, not smoking, getting sufficient sleep, and exercising regularly. We've already discussed these simple preventative actions you can take in case you missed them in chapters 12 through 14. It's hugely empowering to realize that even the most basic shifts in your behavior can save, extend, and invigorate your life. As we mentioned in Chapter 14, Strength, Fitness, and Performance, a major study from the UK showed that simply walking 20 to 30 minutes per day can cut the risk of dying from a heart attack in half. So even a modest commitment like deciding to exercise consistently for, say, 150 minutes each week, 20 to 30 minutes per day, 5 or 6 days a week, can transform your health, radically reducing your risk of many chronic illnesses, including cardiovascular disease. If that doesn't convince you, how about the fact that exercise also increases the blood flow to your brain, improving your cognitive function? Now, unless you've been living under a rock for your entire life, you're probably not that surprised to hear that regular exercise does wonders for your health and vitality. Similarly, you know already that your heart and brain will serve you better if you eat healthily, for example by consuming more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, while also limiting fatty foods, refined carbs, and sugary drinks. So why am I bothering to remind you of these basic rules of the road? Because prevention is the single best defense against heart disease and many other life-threatening illnesses. I want you to take care of yourself and stay alive so you can benefit from all of the incredible technologies coming to fruition over the next few years.